Okay, so skill number 3. We're going to solve quadratics by factoring. Okay, so on the left side, you guys have y equals x squared minus 8x minus 48. Our first step always, if necessary, is to set your y equal to 0. And that's because, remember, when you're solving quadratic equations, you're finding the x-intercepts. The definition of an x-intercept is when y equals 0. So that's why you're setting your y equal to 0, because you're really finding the x-intercepts. Now that that's done, all right, your formula for factoring, all right, is you want to factor by grouping is what we've been doing all semester long. So first we can identify our a, b, and c values. In this case, a is 1, there's an invisible 1 there. Your b is -8, and your c is -48. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a times c, which in this case is just 1 times -48, which is -48. Now what we need to do is look at the factors of 48 that would combine to a -8. So you got 1 and 48, 2 and 24, and you could always check by using a calculator some of these. 3, right? 3 goes into 48, I believe 16 times, right? Yep, I think so. There's 4 and 24. Nope. Yes, no, 14. Wait, 4 and 12, sorry. And then there's 6 and 8. So now if we look at all these different combinations, right, that could get me 47 or 49. That could get me 26 or 22. That could get me, I'm still not convinced that's right. 3, and yes, that one's fine. That could give me 19 or 13. Oh, well this could get me an 8, right? So this is my combination that I need to use. So when you're factoring by grouping, right, you're going to split up your middle term. So I want a -8. So I need to do plus 4x minus 12x minus 48. All right. So now we're good on that part. I'm going to factor by grouping. That 0 equals is just going to hang out the whole time. All right. So what we can do is we look at our first two terms, which in this case is x squared plus 4x. The GCF of those is just x. So I'm going to take out an x. Now, x times x will get me back to x squared, and x times a positive 4 will get me back to 4x. When you're factoring by grouping, you know you want to see that again. You know you want to see that term repeated. That's the point of factoring by grouping. You're looking for common groups. So now, something times x should get me -12x. Well, that's got to be a -12. And then double check, -12 times positive 4. That gets me back to -48, so that means I'm good. So now, that means we have 0 equals, all right, x plus 4 is my repeated term, times x minus 12. All right, so that's factored. But remember, we're trying to solve this. So this is saying some number, right? X plus 4 is some number, and x minus 12 is some number. They multiply together and get me 0. By the zero product property, you have x plus 4 equals 0, or you have x minus 12 equals 0. All right, now we can probably solve these in our heads, which is fine. All right, so you get x equals -4 and x equals 12. All right, so those are your two different answers. Again, we're solving quadratics, so we have two different answers. So in this case, once you get your factors, right, we kind of know to flip the signs. That's not always the case though. All right, so if we look at our second one here, we have 3x squared plus 7x plus 2 equals 0. This one's already set equal to 0 for us, which is nice. My a in this case is 3, my b in this case is 7, and my c in this case is 2. So the reason this one's a little bit harder is because a is not 1 in this case. So when you're looking at this, a times c, well that's 3 times 2, well that's 6. All right, 6, the factors of 6 are just 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. Again, you're looking for that to combine to your b value, which in this case is 7. So that means I'm going to use the 1 and the 6. All right, so I'm just going to split that off. We have 3x squared. All right, the order that you write these in doesn't matter. I'm going to write plus 6x plus 1x plus 2 equals 0. All right, so I split those up. Again, I'm going to factor by grouping. So looking at my first two terms, I have a 3x squared and a 6x. right? I know I can take out a 3x, right? I am going to be left with an x plus 2. All right, again, because we're factoring by grouping, I know I want to see that again. So now I still need something here though. Something times x should get me 1x. Oh, well, that's just going to be a plus 1, and then 1 times 2 gets me 2. So now I'm good. So now, right, again, you factor out your common factor. You have an x plus 2 times a 3x plus 1, and all of that equals 0. Now, same idea, right? This equals 0 or this guy equals 0. So you're going to have x plus 2 equals 0, right? Or you have 3x plus 1 equals 0. So that's why you can't just always change the sign. You have to actually know what's happening. So in the first one, right, that is an x equals negative 2. But in the second one here, all right, your first step is to subtract 1. 3x equals negative 1. All right, then you got to divide both sides by 3. So x equals negative 1/3. Or you could write that as negative 0.33. All right, either way works. Just make sure sometimes this fraction, you might have to simplify it. All right, so make sure you guys are simplifying your fractions, or you can just give me the decimal. All right, either way, both of these we solved by factoring by grouping, right? Yeah, factor by grouping. The biggest trick is you have to notice that your y equal to 0, and finding your factors is the hard part. Especially in this one when your a is not 1, you really have to know how to split up the terms. But yeah.